Hey everyone, Red here, and I hope you're all having a great day. And as you can tell already, today's rank 1 mindset video is going to be on Danny Boy himself, Ghostface. And for today's build, I figured I'd show it here instead of just in game. If you don't know these perks, just feel free to pause and read them as we go. Starting off with Hex Ruin to regress generators that are not being worked on. Barbecue and Chili for point gain and to see auras of survivors 40 meters away after hooking a survivor. I'm all ears to see an aura after any rushed action, and along with Sloppy Butcher for of course the mangled status effect. Running the add-ons for decreased detection range and to lower the cooldown on Night Shroud. These overall I think are the most effective when doing the hit and run playstyle. As far as offering, bring whatever you want, but I felt like giving some extra points to everyone this game. I hope you all enjoy the video, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the gameplay. Getting into the game, when dealing with large maps like Grim Pantry, I tend to take a hard left or hard right approach as I begin my gen patrol. It's actually pretty rare that survivors are going to spawn in the exact opposite side of the map, and even if they do, they will typically move left or right towards a generator. With Ghostface's first power being Night Shroud, I'm able to make myself undetectable, which lowers my terror radius to 0, making it very easy to sneak up on survivors, and can help a ton in the early game when looking for my first chase, as the survivor won't know when I'm getting closer unless of course they're running the perk Spine Chill, which of course is a bane to stealth killers, but I've already covered how to counter this in my rank 1 Wraith mindset video, so check that out for a more thorough explanation. When a survivor isn't looking behind them, it's a great opportunity to try and cut them off with a different route. As killer, cutting survivors off is a great time save, even if it means just getting to the next pallet and getting it down out of the way sooner. With Ruin being down and Kate using Dead Hard to secure the pallet, now is a good time to break chase. Since Ruin was popped somewhat close to that generator, I can suspect at least one survivor is going to be close to the generator. This generator actually has quite a bit of progress completed on it already. Since it's pretty early in the game and a survivor in this area was already popping my totem, which takes time, I suspect that there was probably more than one survivor on this gen a moment ago. While there's no one currently around, I can suspect they're hiding nearby waiting for me to leave. That's why I kick the generator, and because I'm a stealth killer, I can do basically a fake gen check on the other generators before returning right back to the generator that I think is actually being worked on. This will catch some survivors off guard, and survivors with Spine Chill we can detect from there. Noticing Nancy here allows me to play dumb and walk up the ramp. The goal with these small and simple mind games is that she doesn't start running and gaining distance until I'm closer to her. Ghostface is great because of how well he can excel at numerous playstyles. While stalk and insta downs are effective, I feel the hit and run playstyle generates a lot more pressure with extremely less risk. The blood misled me here quite a bit, but that's alright as my Shroud came back up, and with the generator having a lot of progress on it and me breaking off after hitting Nancy, it's pretty easy to tell that survivors are going to keep returning to this generator to try and pressure it and get it done. Always try and keep a line of sight blocker in your way so you can get as close as possible without survivors knowing you're there. Finding 3 survivors here is actually a great opportunity as I can now use the generator as a bait and look for easy downs based on simple mistakes rather than going on longer chases. The only survivor I currently don't have tabs on is the Kate we started the game off with, but with heal time considered, it'll be quite a long time before she can finish a generator by herself. When you know there are multiple survivors in an area, look around before picking up. There's almost always a survivor still lurking like this. By him not throwing the pallet here, he sealed his fate unless he has Dead Hard, so I have to keep that in mind when looking on chases. Luckily for us, he was going for the vault, and that's a free hit for me. During this time, not only was I focused on the chases, but I was also listening above to hear if any survivors had hopped back on that generator. And since this whole time I haven't heard that, I know it was an okay time to go for a hook on Nancy, as Steve will most likely go for the pickup on tap. This is why killers must not only play in the present, but also keep future plays in mind, and this is why understanding a survivor's mindset is also very important. Again, always make sure to assert that dominance with at least one intentful miss. Even Steve became intimidated and lured himself to me, which of course made for an easy target and a free down. Remember everybody, it's never a miss, it's always asserting dominance. The reason to chase Tap here was to keep him off of the hook, and by doing so I'm pressuring the last survivor off of a potential gen, or to come for a hit or a save instead. I'm currently pressuring all 4 survivors with this play. To top off the pressure, Kate is beelining for the hook Nancy. This means she'll be trading spots for her, and this is exactly what you want for a killer, especially in the early game. Survivors trading hooks can seriously throw a game in the killer's favor. To keep up the pressure, I'm going to chase Nancy for a moment, and this isn't just to pressure Nancy, but also to threaten her if she goes for the pickup on Steve. And the real goal here is to be able to hook Steve while pressuring Nancy. Now, I don't really know what Nancy was thinking here, but I can't deny a feast if it's brought to me like this, right? Of course, with DS possibly being in play, I can't just pick Nancy up and get her out of the game just yet. But I can go grab the K and hook her now, because if Tap is in the vicinity, I can also look to threaten and close out the game. Now, with the heal going off, I can try and hook Nancy or eat a DS if necessary, and of course I can go kick this generator to get some extra progression off. Now, since Nancy had struggled when she was on the hook, the next time she is hooked, she will be out of the game. And when a killer kills a survivor off early in the game, it's pretty much all downhill from that point. I could go and try and pressure the Kate and Tap, but when you have a chance to remove a player early in the game, it's almost always the best call. The last thing I would want is to pressure them, but then they end up saving Nancy from dying. When playing stealth killers like Ghostface, having the ability to predict is a huge need. By seeing their current location and me just having hooked Nancy behind me, it's most likely they will head in the opposite direction. And this mind frame can save a ton of time in looking for survivors and allowing you to keep up that pressure. Unfortunately for Steve, his scratch marks were brighter, and that's what overall drew me this way instead of chasing Kate in the open. A good simple rule to follow is to go for the survivor who's closest and has the path of least resistance. Now of course I leave Steve slugged rather than eating a DS, and to be semi-kind. Now here I was actually blind and didn't even notice that the K had ran up the ramp on the side here, and I actually ended up wasting quite a bit more time. And this is what happens when you rush yourself into a play. My worry was originally that she was going to go back the opposite way, and I needed to get down from the building right away. Here though, she made a pretty big survivor misplay, as in going for the save with the killer right in her heels. She can't effectively make the save and get away, and should have led me away from the down survivor instead of on top of him. But the Pallet Stone was pretty nice, so I'll give some credit to that. I'm All Ears is a really underrated perk, as it can allow for some sneaky plays overall, and in this case allowed me not to waste a ton of time in thinking there was going to be a mind game and go straight for the kill instead. Since the Steve was saved, I can assume that he's begun making his way as far from me as possible, and the idea with this pickup is to hopefully get some value out of barbecue and chili. Unfortunately, we don't really see anything. We kind of just have to go back to our basics as far as finding survivors. Because the crows have went off here, I can suspect maybe they went back to the generator. And as we do come up to a closer inspection, I do realize that the generator has been worked on, but not a lot, and I don't want to spend a lot of time here. This is one of the few times where I might go right back to the hook after a save. While I haven't used the stalking portion of Ghostface's power a lot during this gameplay, and because it's more of the hit and run playstyle and build I'm using, it's still effective to look for good stalks to expose vulnerable survivors in bad positions. Being exposed makes survivors a one hit down and can really end a chase super quick. As a survivor, you can also get yourself down super quick if you sprint burst yourself into a tree. One might ask why I don't use the stalk power a ton more if it can make survivors exposed, and simply put, from my experience, the hit and run playstyle does better at higher ranks more consistently. Remember, if a survivor detects you by looking at you for a period of time, you have to wait to be able to get your shroud back, to come back, and then be able to stalk them again. And if you hit them during that time frame, it's going to remove your progress that you had. With games being fast paced, I prefer to generate pressure by sneaking up on survivors and catching them off guard with injuries and quick downs that way, such as this Steve right here who never saw me coming because he believed I was chasing someone else. Of course, now this is my preference. I also have had quite a few games that go super smooth when I'm focusing on the stalk portion, and I'm sure there are many Ghostface mains out there who might completely prefer the stalk playstyle, and to be great at it with better success for them. It does come down to your playstyle, and that's why we love Ghostface, because he's so great at both, and that's what makes him a high tier killer, in my opinion. Once I see Tap struggling to kill himself off faster, I begin looking for the last survivor and ignoring the hook survivors as I want to try and find her before the hatch spawns. Now, once both sides decide it's time to kill themselves on hook, this game is over and it becomes purely a search for the hatch game. So for this portion, of course, I'm going to speed it up so we don't have to sit here waiting for me to go and find the hatch. I do actually manage to find it, and it's actually where we got the longest loop of the game, which happened to be in the shack right here. Now that I've closed off the hatch, and while on my way here I heard crows at the main building, I have a rough estimate of where the Kate is, and a few moments shortly I do manage to find her right here in the open. While this looks like I was trying to assert some extra dominance, I realized I'm actually lifted a bit higher off the ground than I should be, so I take a few more swings to test it out, and what's Dead by Daylight without random few bugs. Now if you see here, every time I go, it's like I'm hitting up and down on a little portion, so it's not as smooth as it should be. And that's going to be all for today's Rank 1 Mindset. Hopefully you all enjoyed it and found it helpful in your future games. I've debated whether or not to create a second Rank 1 Mindset for Ghostface in the future, more based around his stalk, but I do feel that this is a more efficient build overall, but let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, make sure to leave a like and a subscribe. This video took a lot longer time to get decent footage for, especially since the MMR changes have been so wonky lately, but since those changes have now been reverted, my games have been feeling much better and a lot less rank 20s in my games. So thank you everyone for waiting for this video, as I know it took a little while longer and had quite a few Twitch videos there for the past few videos. Again, I do want to stress that with the addition of Twitch videos, I still be creating content purely on the YouTube side, and think more of Twitch videos as an extra filler with more lighthearted and fun rather than just on the educational side that it currently is. But I hope you all silently stab some of your survivors in your next games, and as always, I'm Red and I'm signing off.